Hello and welcome to Shades of Naturopathy, the official podcast of the Israeli Naturopathic Association. In this podcast, we will bring you conversation with leading experts in the field about new tools, fresh ideas, and deep insight for improving your health. We will cover a large range of different treatment options, method of practice, and approaches that can help you transform the way you see your health and understand your own practice better. My name is Eitan, a naturopath myself and a board member of the association, and I invite you to join us to informal conversation with the leading practitioners, sharing how they work, how they diagnose, why they chose this way of life, and methods of work. Hello and welcome, Dr. Ari. Let me tell the audience a little bit about you. You're specialized in all kinds of research that's mostly considered between science fiction and alternative medicine, like leaky gut and leaky blood-brain barrier, and the connection between what you eat and inflammation. You wrote a great book about it, and all kinds of triggers of autoimmune diseases and everything that doctors say doesn't exist, most doctors, and you gave it the scientific connection of what we call alternative medicine and what we as naturopathic doctors preach. So is it accurate, the way I introduced you?
I think maybe it looks like being accurate, but I think what I'm talking about is real science.
Of course.
Not alternative medicine. Because
I'm calling it alternative medicine because most doctors don't admit it's real science. Like leaky gut, we were talking before that leaky gut is considered like quack science. Still, even though there is multiple great books and great scientific research about it, it's still considered fringe science is the best way to look at it. Mostly it's quack.
Yeah, so my answer to that is, I'm so sorry, doctor. If you don't have time to go and search the scientific literature and find thousands and thousands of articles published in scientific journals that environmental triggers in general, we'll talk about that more, environmental triggers in general can change our gut microbiome. And now I'm using my background in microbiology, which I studied at Bar-Ilan University, first microbiology, then immunology. The gut dysbiosis results in release of bacterial toxins. Bacterial toxins can open or damage the intestinal barriers. When the gate is open, everybody is welcome in the blood. So what will be the consequences of all these unwanted proteins, antigens, peptides, food, toxic chemicals get into the blood? Of course, is going to affect most of our systems, including the brain, through their effect on blood-brain barriers, because there is almost 70% similarity in the structure of gut and blood-brain barriers. So this is real science, and I don't want to call that even alternative medicine.
I'm with you. I call it science and medicine, but the most doctors that treat people, the doctors in the end of the hall, most of them still don't know about it. A bit about something about microbiome is a buzzword that they know it's important, but they still don't know why and how. They're waiting for a pill to activate the good bacteria, and there isn't one because it's more complex. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, in general, I really do not blame them. In the US, almost the same type of thinking, because in medical school, they teach them how to use medication to improve the symptoms of a disease, as you know, and not to look at the root cause or under cause of the illness, like I am interested, you are interested. And so by finding the root cause of a disease, we can deal with that and cure the disease. Classical example, many, many years I became involved with was H. pylori, which discovered around, let's say, 1980 something. Yes, 1985. And that was one of the bacteria who discovered that relationship between ulcers and many other, even other diseases, including autoimmunities. But in relation to peptic ulcer, that was the first time people accepted that the bacteria could cause such a serious gastrointestinal disorder that could be treated with simple medication and prevent suffering for millions of people in the world for many years to come by just using antacids and all of that. So that was just the beginning, but there are many, many more since then, discovered. And now we know that 3 environmental factors, pathogens, food, if are not digested properly, and toxic chemicals, unfortunately, we have many of them, who can get into our body, form neoantigen or NEU antigens. And then our body react to all of these, and due to similarity between some of these food antigens, bacteria, viruses, now we are setting the stage for autoimmune disease. So if you have a patient with thyroid autoimmunity, doctor, please pay attention that Epstein-Barr virus or cytomegalovirus or herpes type 6 could be one reason, because all share homology with thyroid peroxidase and thyroid globulin. The other could be also food that your patient eat every day, including wheat, gluten, because wheat germ agglutinins, soy agglutinins, these are proteins, very bad proteins, is not easy to digest. In our food, that their structure looks exactly like certain components of thyroid peroxidase. So how many doctors in America, you think, that tell their patients, don't use wheat or soy or peanuts because these items cross-react with your thyroid? I would say probably 0.001%.
Still more than in Israel.
Yes.
So that's why when I say you are practicing in holistic medicine or alternative medicine, I'm saying it as a good thing because I see it as not only symptomatic medicine. And in Israel, because we have such a good healthcare industry, so going to the doctor is free. And you go to the doctor and you do what he tells you. And if he says, even in IBD, doctors say you can eat whatever you want. And people are coming to me crying. You are telling me you need to do this crazy diet and be active and all of that. And the doctor says it's all bullshit. So because the doctors are free of charge in Israel, it's even worse because you give it even more attention.
I have news for you. At least I have few colleagues or friends that through them I know that those type of doctors are the first one develop autoimmune disease or cardiovascular disease. Because they don't pay attention. Not only they don't pay attention to their patient's health, they don't pay attention to their own health. So the message you and I we have today is really take care of yourself and go to a doctor who can understand you, who understands the root causes of diseases, and not to tell you eat whatever you want.
I'm all with you. Let's skip this intro and start talking about you.
Okay.
Every hero has an origin story. So what's yours? What first set you on the path towards studying the immune system and the brain and all of these crazy mechanism, crazy in the basic scientific way, I mean?
Well, I think, I'm very old, as you know. So I'm working in the field more than 55 years. So scientists in America, and most probably even in Israel also, in the world, they take one subject and they work on that subject all their life. In my case, if I'll enumerate how many subjects I worked on, which I did research on, probably there are more than 40 different disorders and diseases that I worked on. So by working in several fields simultaneously, I came to conclusion that the biological gate to inflammation, autoimmunity, neuroautoimmunity, neurodegenerative disorders are gut and blood-brain barriers. So that's one.
When?
This happened probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I cannot tell you that I slept last night and came to the lab, and then I went and did discovery that gut and blood-brain barriers are really very, very important. But about 5 years ago, I published this article in a very good journal that I looked at patients with arthritis, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, and celiac disease, and measured antibodies against lipopolysaccharides, which is the endotoxins of gram-negative bacteria in the gut, which causing leaky gut. Then occludin, zonulin, the structures of gut barriers, and simultaneously also looked at blood-brain barriers antibodies. So what I found that patients who had antibodies against lipopolysaccharides, occludin, zonulin, the structural proteins, actin, cytoskeleton. Also, 70% of them produce antibodies against S100B, which is the protein of blood-brain barriers. So if a patient really is suffering from leaky gut, 70% probability to suffer also from leaky brain simultaneously. And for your audience probably, and also some of the doctors who would like to hear some evidence about factor can cause leaky gut and leaky brain. So everybody, including myself, in past 5 years, my research is focused on SARS-CoV-2 and now long COVID. I developed testing for long COVID. And I read at least probably close to 500 articles in relation to this subject. There are several articles published in journals such as, I don't know, Science, Nature, Nature Medicine, Nature Immunology. So the top journals that SARS-CoV-2 protein, spike protein, which everybody is familiar with, labeled with radioactive material and injected to different animal models. And that spike protein was found not only in the gut, in the lungs, because of the receptors we have, but they found that in the brain. The whole protein, S100, could go through blood-brain barriers and get into the brain. And guess what will happen when a protein like that is in your brain, which also share homology with proteins of the brain. So the immune system is attacking that protein, and the same immune system, the T cells and the B cells and antibodies are going to attack your brain cells, brain tissues, brain antigens. And so therefore, this is one of the best examples of how a viral antigen can cause inflammation, autoimmunity, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and name it. So I hope that will, if they don't believe in that, I invite them to go and read the articles. So I have thousands and thousands of stories like this, not stories, taken from science, real science, that proteins from the environment, chemicals from the environment can cause leaky gut and leaky brain, results in inflammation, autoimmunity, and more.
Sounds everything. I know all of that, but still, when you say it, it sounds even more frightening.
Okay.
I know about it. I'm talking about it all day to people who don't know anything about it. But still, when I hear it, it still gets to me.
Yeah, let me give you another good example. Okay. Do you know how people react to penicillin, the antibiotic, and have allergy to that? Penicillin is a small molecule, right? Very small molecule, like size of amino acid. When they inject it, immediately in that person who is allergic, the chemical, in this case, for me, penicillin is a chemical produced by a mole, binds to human tissue. And so we call that, I learned that at Bar-Ilan University from my professors in immunology. Haptens are small molecules by themselves, cannot challenge the immune system. But when haptens manage to get into human tissue or blood and bind to albumin in the blood or hemoglobin or smooth muscle, now that hapten plus human tissue becomes a serious neoantigen. And so that's why a patient sensitive to penicillin, because penicillin binds to his or her tissue, now immune system react against them, causing allergies and hypersensitivities. So why the doctors accept penicillin allergy, drug allergy? Drugs induce autoimmunity. I'm sure you have seen lots of patients who take certain medication, their ANA was negative before, a month later they have positive ANA. Where that anti-nuclear antibody came from? From medication bound to their nuclear antigen, and the immune system reacted against the combination and now made anti-nuclear antibody, which is the best way to screen for autoimmune disease. So why are we accepting drug-induced autoimmunity, but we do not accept additional 350,000 chemicals that were introduced into our world, into our body since 1950? Each one of them have the capacity to act like penicillin and form neoantigen in human body and induce inflammation and autoimmunity.
Let me ask you like that. All of the what you are saying is finding it after it happened. We want to identify the problem before it happens. So how can you and your research and the many patents you have can help us to know what's going to happen before it happens?
Very fair. Okay. Give me example of one of your patients that came to you, I don't know, this month, that is having, you think probably that patient is suffering from some kind of inflammation and autoimmunity.
Oh, it's easy because most of my patients are like that.
Okay.
I'm mostly treating autoimmune and brain diseases, so
Beautiful.
that's easy.
Okay. So give me example of a patient with multiple sclerosis. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Patient came to you. You think the patient is having multiple sclerosis, and if I was your consultant, and forgive me that that if I was coming to your clinic and you ask me, Ari, what shall I do? I know that you know what to do, okay? But without knowing what you are going to do, I would have sat with you and spent probably an hour minimum with your patient asking about his or her lifestyle. Question number one, okay? That's step number one. Agree with that?
Yeah, of course.
And it is through that I can learn what kind of food he or she eats, what kind of history of infection he or she had, and of course, also we learn about history of vaccination, infection, all of that. So after learning that, I will order a series of tests. Okay, general testing.
Okay, mostly general testing.
Yeah, CBC, chemistry, thyroid, all of that. And most of them will come back probably normal, because the patient is having multiple sclerosis. We did not look at anything specific to, meaning environmental triggers that causes multiple sclerosis, or at least involved in multiple sclerosis, because we cannot say 100% the cause. Okay, so the tests come back normal. So I will say, okay, Ethan, let's start with food. Okay.
But everyone in Israel, mostly in Israel, everyone eats dairy and everyone eats wheat and everyone got vaccination because we are very good at that. So everyone will test positive for all of these, and everyone has stress. So
not necessarily they will be positive for that. Not all of them. Those who suffer from gut dysbiosis. So I'm taking my second step back, okay? I'll start with the gut of that patient first, okay? I'll start with the gut of that patient and do testing to find whether or not that patient indeed suffering from gut dysbiosis and leaky gut.
If she,
If
he
the
or
answer-
she, mostly she is eating
Okay,
the standard
okay.
American diet, she is.
Okay. So if she is,
Simple.
now I have to find out, in addition to that, which food she is reacting to. If she reacts, especially first, I'm talking about multiple sclerosis, dairy, I'll bring 3 most important articles published in past 2 or 3 years in Nature or Science that, or PNAS, Proceedings, Academy of Science, that casein, alpha beta casein, and other components of milk, including butyrophylline, share homology with myelin basic protein, myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein, alpha beta crystalline. And so I hope that you'll be able to convince her, based on that hard science, please stop consuming dairy products, because this is the mechanism. Your immune system is attacking the milk protein, but at the same time is attacking your brain. Do you want to continue taking medication? I don't interfere with that. You want to take your medication, take it. But that's not going to solve the problem. You have to remove this first trigger of multiple sclerosis. Otherwise, you're going to end up with few neurons in next 10 years. So that's one item. So you are with me.
Of course.
Okay? Maybe then you do testing and say, no, the patient did not react to milk. Okay? It's possible. Now, don't think that everybody, because consuming milk, they are having milk antibody. I disagree with that, because I measured and published articles about that. I took 500 so-called, in America, healthy people. I measured antibodies against wheat.
Where can you find 500 healthy people in America?
I said so-called. Okay. And I measured antibodies against wheat and milk, all those antigens that I mentioned, including antigens of the brain simultaneously. So interestingly, and this was published in a journal called Nutrient, you are familiar with. Nutrient, about 6 years ago. So the findings were about 15 to 20% reacted strongly. I'm taking strongly, okay? Everybody will have some antibody against milk or wheat. But I'm talking about, like, if you have 100 units, I'm talking about 2,000 units, 5,000 units. So 15 to 20% made antibodies against milk. Almost the same percentage made antibodies against gluten and wheat germ agglutinin especially. So the interesting part was that what percentage of these react with brain proteins? Half of those who were positive for milk and wheat reacted strongly with myelin basic protein, myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein, and alpha crystalline and myelin associated glycoprotein. So some of these, are major components of they're involved in induction of multiple sclerosis. So that's how to prove whether or not the patient is really reacting to wheat that causing inflammation and autoimmunity, or the same for milk. So if patient is negative for all of that, having moderate level of antibodies, I would not say there is involved in your patient with multiple sclerosis. The next step is, what else? Okay, go to the world of viruses. I'm sure you know. Epstein-Barr virus,
Yeah.
herpes type 6, cytomegalovirus,
What I
SARS-CoV-2.
want to ask next is the doctor that has 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes with a patient. He can assign the test of the viruses, but what else can the doctor do in his 20 minutes with the patient?
I'm sorry.
I can do a lot more
I'm
because
sorry.
I have more
don't
time.
go to a doctor who will spend only serious, I'm talking about serious illness. To spend only 15 to 20 minutes with me, you cannot get that with 15 to 20 minutes. You have to investigate all of these. You can spread all of these through, I don't know, a couple months. You investigated the gut, investigate the food, investigate the pathogens, not just viruses, could be bacteria. And by the way, recently I developed a test called biome burden panel, which is the microbiome of the microbiome. The yeast. Do you know that in your field, for example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Boulardii, which is given to some patient and helps in inflammation in the gut, but they also can cause autoimmunity, similar to Candida albicans. So we should not ignore the world of microbiome, not only the viruses, the virome, the microbiome, all of that should be investigated. And finally, there is another world that in Israel especially do not pay attention to it at all. And that is the world of 350,000 new synthetic chemicals that some of them get into our body through food, air, water, clothing, and more. Okay, I'll give you one of bad experience I had in Israel. My mother used to live in Israel and she passed away many years ago. And so I came for the Shiva. Okay, so we ordered food from catering. Guess what? The catering came with paper, cups and plates, forks, and all of that. I was going to die when I saw that.
Yeah.
This is
paper dishes.
Really, I have a message.
When you say paper, it's not really paper. It's paper with plastic and all kind of other chemicals.
Yes, of course. So therefore, really, I feel sorry for my own relatives living in Israel. They do the same thing. This is very common. Please, through your society, educate people. Educate them more not to do this, because they're poisoning themselves on daily basis, from cup of coffee all the way to shawarma.
Yeah. So Israel is really, really, really bad in this kind of government oversight, because it's always political. There was a few years ago, set it into law that they will have higher taxes on paper cups and stuff, but then the next government went back because politics and religion and all kind of.
I am sorry to say that's very stupid.
We know.
What kind of, political group try to poison their citizens?
It's mostly religion, and when religion is against you, you can't win with reason.
Believe me, I have that also in all the synagogues that I participate. I almost get heart attack when they bring food on Saturday morning for bracha. It is all with aluminum and plastics.
Yeah.
And there was one experiment done. I want this, your audience to know about this, that when you put aluminum on top of, let's say, a cup or plate or whatever, and you leave that food for 4 hours, about 500 milligrams of that aluminum went into the food. They did experiment. This is published. So unfortunately, when it comes to chemicals, people believe that they will be in and they will go out. No, I gave you example of penicillin, but probably there are 100,000s of other chemicals that when they get into our body, they stick to that tissue. They don't get out. They stay there. That's why one of your major function is to detoxify your patients. And I'm sure you are doing that.
Yeah. And in that sense, Israel is kind of lucky because we are such a new state. So there's no mold infestation and there's no lead piping. So lots of stuff are better than Europe and the US.
Very nice. Very nice.
But
Very nice.
like government do, there are many stupid stuff, like mostly air and
I really, I hope,
agriculture.
from bottom of my heart, I hope one day someone like Mr. Kennedy will come in Israel and say, let's do all of that. Let's remove all the food coloring. Let's remove majority of toxic chemicals from the food that we are poisoning our children on daily basis. Not only children, the adults also, but we start from children. That's why we have so many children with ADD, ADHD, autism, and probably, what you tell me, the story about yourself. So believe me, in America, I have 7 grandchildren. You don't find a healthy child anymore. And I'm so happy that Mr. Kennedy is at least started doing something about it, which will take him probably 4 or 5 years until he finish the job. And I hope another person will not come and redo all of this, as you said, what happened in Israel.
Yeah. The part of the problem is that many times it's considered political, and then the other side comes and reverse it. And also that's the good of Kennedy, but the bad of Trump is going back in environment safety and regulation of digging wells and oil and all of that. So the answer won't come from the government, never. And now I have to say, because I don't think I ever told it in this podcast about myself. So just because you stated it, so my origin story is I had bipolar. I got it in the army, and then I got out, and that's why I went to study what I studied, and that's why I didn't listen to my teachers, and got to the microbiome like 10 or 15 years before it was popular. So
thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing with us. That reminds me a case, or I have many cases of patients with neurologic disorders, they go to neurologists, not you, in Israel or in America, and they just put them on medication. And at least several of those, when we tested them for gluten, they had both IgG and IgA antibodies at very high levels. We tested them for glutamic acid decarboxylase, GAD65. You know what that is.
Yeah.
GAD65. Yes? They were positive for that. So we proved that gluten ataxia was the cause of neurological disorders in those patients, and not another wrong name that was given to these patients, I don't know, having ALS or MS-like syndrome, neuromyelitis optica, or that. So the patient had gluten ataxia. By removing gluten from that patient, the patient improved a year later. So these are kind of stories, you can find many case reports and publications about in scientific journals. And I hope you use some of these case reports and educate your patients. And so that will hopefully will make your patients well and not just put them on medications.
And now let's talk about you again. And let many people, many researchers know a lot, but they don't always walk the talk.
Okay.
So how does your life look like?
My life, exactly what you see what I'm talking? We do exactly the same thing. Okay?
That's
so
again
actually,
the difference between you and us. Most of people who practice or preach holistic health, most of us, all of us, I think, walk the talk very, very well because we know how much it matters. And most doctors live in stress and eat really bad, even though they know it's bad.
So I'm really delighted that you asked that question, because you can share this with your patients. Because I developed multiple chemical sensitivity by working in research laboratories, being in touch with chemicals. And so because of that, I became interested in the role of environmental factors, especially toxic chemicals.
Oh, that's interesting.
Human disorders.
So that's your origin story for before.
Yeah, so this is something I didn't mention before. So because of that, first of all, I got married in 1976 in Israel. Next year will be 50 years. We will come to Israel. And so until probably 1990, I was doing everything like everybody. Even I was painting our own house. And the paint was falling on my skin, and washed them with, thinner chemicals.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but after that, I decided to have holistic life. Everything organic we buy. Organic doesn't mean doesn't have chemicals. It has 80% less chemicals. It is not about vitamins. People, they think organic have more vitamins. No, organics do not have more vitamins. We consume organics because they are relatively more clean. So that's number one. Okay, everything organic. Rule number two, no paper or plastic in our house. The next item, no oil in the plastic. Never buy oil in the plastic, only in glass. And you can guess why. Chemicals who are not dissolved in water in the laboratory, we dissolve them in oil, oily material, okay? So oil dissolves the bisphenol A. And now you have oil plus pashtida or whatever you're cooking, plus bisphenol A. Alcohol, never in plastic. Alcohol, there are lots of chemicals who are not water soluble, they're alcohol soluble.
I never ever thought about that.
Okay? So change all those habits. Never. No coffee, no drinks. Water, maybe it's okay, but even that, because if I start with water, I'll have coffee also in a paper or plastic. So that's what we do. And finally, teach them to cook at home. I'm sorry. When you go to a restaurant, you don't know what they are using, what kind of oil they are using, what kind of,
I'm saying, it's the worst you can think about and the cheapest. You can be sure it's like that.
So my wife is cooking 7 days a week, okay? Maybe once a month we'll go to a restaurant. So if really you want healthy lifestyle, please follow some of these. You have to minimize entry of toxic chemicals. There are 350,000 of them out there into your body. And finally, I 100% believe in intermittent fasting. You call that early dinner, okay? We eat dinner around between 4 to 5 p.m. So you give to your brain enough time to detoxify, and next morning you are ready for your exercise and your breakfast.
Yeah.
I said
funny
exercise,
because
right?
usually I eat my first meal at 4 or 5 p.m. So I do the opposite.
So you have to be exemplary, okay? As a doctor, you have to change first. You change your lifestyle.
No, but it's okay.
tell
It's
your
also
patient.
okay. I'm starting late, and it's still intermittent fasting, but I just the opposite. Some
I'm
people.
sorry, immune system goes against you. At night, the immune system likes to rest. So if you eat late, your body still is busy, and your body is not resting.
But I'm not hungry in the morning, and even at lunch.
You can change it. You can change it. In a week, that will be changed. Anyway, any other question?
Yeah. Let's talk about your approach to health in general. You're not a naturopath, but your approach is very holistic, and that's why I'd like to ask you the question that I ask all of my guests, and I can tell you that to ask this question, that's the way I open this podcast, to ask it every week. So the naturopathic philosophy is based on 6 core principles. The first of them is the healing power of nature, or trust your body. Okay? The second is always look for the root cause and not only the symptoms. The third is do no harm and try to choose the simplest and most natural path to healing. The fourth is the doctor is as a teacher, and don't just fix the problem and let them go, but teach them. The fifth is treat the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, and environment. And sixth is prevention. Don't wait for the problem to appear, but try to catch it early. So out of these 6, what is the one that is best describing your lifestyle and your
First of
method
all, I agree
of
with all
thinking?
6. I agree 100%.
Of course, but you have to choose the
Okay.
best.
Based on all those 6, you can classify me not as a scientist, but a naturopath. So I think overall, I would say healthy lifestyle in general. healthy lifestyle. You cannot choose one out of six. You want all of that. I call that healthy lifestyle. You know, I'm part of a great medical group called Personalized and Lifestyle Medicine, PLMI, which my son and I, we are going to lecture on in month of October about immunometabolism.
Wow.
Immunometabolism. So I believe in all, you cannot choose only one. Listen, for example, I told you, remove the triggers. Absolutely is very important. If I will choose one, will be remove the triggers. Okay?
Okay. So you love all of your kids the same.
Yeah. Yes.
And how much control do you think people really have over their life and health?
I think we have a lot of control. We have a lot of control. When you go to supermarket, you will see how much control you have. When you go to your kitchen, you will see how much control you have. At your home, you have all the control. When you wake up in the morning, it's up to you to do a little bit push-ups, a little bit exercise. I don't know, a little bit of meditation, whatever you like to do, a little bit of relaxation techniques. So it is all in your control. Don't think about the government and politics. This is in your control.
Yeah.
If you don't buy paper plates, if right now really all the Israelis will decide not to buy paper plates or plastic cups, the companies who are bringing these from China, I'm mentioning China because, they're using the worst ingredients full of toxic chemicals to make those paper plates and plastics, okay? So don't buy it. They will stop bringing them from China to Israel. So everything is in our control. Agree with me?
I'm with you totally. And I just remember that this morning I had a meeting with someone who is Haredi and Orthodox, and I forgot to talk to him about only use real plate.
Yeah. Next time, please ask this question. I asked these many rabbis in Los Angeles. If the rule of kashrut, when they were established, we had plastic and paper, then were they classify them as kosher or non-kosher? Please ask them next time.
In Israel, all of them will say it's kosher.
I know. If they were available when they, made these rules of kosher, do you think aluminum, who is causing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, was going to be classified as kosher? And all the religious people are using it by quantities, especially Friday deliveries in Los Angeles. Everything is aluminum and paper and plastic.
Yeah.
I call that toxic Shabbat Shalom.
And I was going to ask you next, what is the most overlooked factor that affects human health, but you just answered it?
Toxic chemicals.
Let's try something completely different to get something out of you that most people don't know. Okay? Are you with me? Is there a book, a film, or a story that inspired the way you think and the holistic way that you practice your medicine and science?
I think there wasn't a book. There were several people started from Bar-Ilan University, my professor in immunology. The first day in the class said, students, the future of medicine is immunology. So I started from there. Then I had more, when I became sick due to exposure to toxic chemicals, I met lots of doctors from American Academy of Environmental Medicine who believed in what we are talking today 45 years ago, 40 years ago. So by participating in different lectures by different leaders in the field of environmental medicine, I became interested into this field and went out there and educated myself. So that's what I believe. Education, education, education is the bottom line, and I hope you'll be able to educate few people, like 10 people, and those 10 people educate another 10, the other 20 now will be 40, 80, 160, and many more. That is my final message.
And let's talk about bad influence. Who do you believe did the most harm in to set your field back and to make people less healthy for years to come?
I think the mainstream medical societies.
When did it start? Was it Pasteur who said that all pathogens are bad and you need to kill everything? Was it the ones who said, I don't know, like only use medicine and don't use plants? When was it?
I think there wasn't, in my case, there were step after steps, one by one, a little bit by a little bit. It didn't happen overnight. 55 years of experience in the field. So it happens throughout the years. And that's how what you see, Aristo or Ari, right now is the results of many years of working in the clinical and research laboratory, participating in many medical meetings, lecturing in medical meetings. So every time I lecture, give one lecture, I listen to another 20 lectures. So imagine how much I learned from those 20 lectures through almost 55 years. Okay, so I think it's combination, all the above made me who I am. And so I met some probably bad influences, good influences, but overall, I could screen them myself, keeping the good and let the bad get out of my body.
Great. And if you could meet yourself, if you can imagine that you could meet yourself at age 20, what will you say to 20 age Ari?
Honestly, they have to change their lifestyle, especially the way they eat, the way they drink, the way they toxify their body with alcohol and drugs. That will be my serious message. Instead of that, unfortunately, when they're young, they don't listen, okay? When, that is the time to start to build healthy lifestyle. The only way they may listen is the following, that healthy sperm, healthy egg equals to healthy children in this world.
Yeah.
By drinking and toxifying your body, whether you are a boy or a girl, you are going to affect the egg or the sperm, and therefore don't blame everything on the genes. Blame it on yourself. That's the end of the story.
Great. And we are close to finish, and I want to ask you a few quick questions. In your view, what's the biggest health challenge humanity has to face today?
Oh my God. I think, again, I'll say is the food. The food contaminated with toxic chemicals, which we are eating it every day. That's the worst part, because infections, we can take care of them. The pathogens, we can take care of them. But unfortunately, the food contaminated with toxic chemicals, modified food, are the enemy of our health. So that is really the bottom line.
And what is the healthiest food or habit that most people don't do enough of or don't eat enough of?
I think we talked about that. Healthy fruits.
One. Choose one.
No. It's fruits and vegetables.
Choose one. One fruit. One vegetable.
One vegetable. Oh my God.
Yeah, the most, the best. The king.
I will say berries in general. Berries. Because of the color, the all those beautiful vitamins and antioxidants they contain. Great answer. The other one, it will be after that, will be some dates from Elat.
My first one is
if
always...
they are organic.
Of course. The first one in my book is always some kind of grass, like parsley or something like that.
Okay, I agree with that also, yes. But in general, please remember...
But only if it's organic.
Yeah, please remember that the fruits and vegetables in general, diet based on fruits and vegetables is anti-autoimmunity. Its autoimmunity diet is being vegan, actually, is the best. Meat, mainly because looks like human body, right? There was a publication about immunodietica. If you have a chance, please download that from UC San Francisco. Immunodietica found that pork and cow meat have the highest amount of autoimmunity inducing proteins because they look like human body, right? So it makes sense. So vegetarian vegan diet is the healthiest diet for autoimmunity. I think I have to go also. I have another engagement.
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And hope to bring you to Israel.
Okay, we'll meet.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Shades of Naturopathy. I hope you've taken something new for this. Maybe a fresh idea, a thought-provoking insight, or even some inspiration to improve your health. We would love to hear feedback and questions about this episode. Check our website to see more content, mostly in Hebrew, and list of associated naturopaths in Israel. To make sure you won't miss future episodes, be sure to follow our podcast. Thank you again, and we'll see you next episode.